Howdy, welcome to section 1.6, grouping and parentheses, and this is based on the textbook First Course in Mathematical Logic by Patrick Suppes and Shirley Hill. Every molecular sentence will have one major connective. We can also call a major connective the dominant connective. And as we'll see, parentheses have a close relationship with punctuations. The textbook gives the example on page 22, both x equals 1 or x equals 2, comma, and y equals 3. What we want to do is to translate that into mathematical logic. So how can we do that? Well, we need to find out what is the dominant connective. And there are really two hints. One big hint is the comma. The other hint is the word that starts out the sentence, namely both. We have x equals 1 or x equals 2, comma, so that breaks off the connection from y equals 3. So those are separate groupings. So therefore, the major connective is the and. That's given away not only by the comma, but also the word both. So we can symbolize it as parentheses P or Q, close parentheses, and R. So the connective connects two sentences. Namely, we have P or Q, which represents x equals 1 or x equals 2, and we have R, which represents y equals 3. Notice the comma. Okay. The comma is one major hint in terms of what is dominant. And also notice the dominant connective is not in parentheses. So the dominant connective is and. We have a conjunction, and the and right here is outside the parentheses, whereas the or is in parentheses. It's not a dominant connective, it's a minor connective. Here's another example. We changed a few things, or the textbook changed a few things. It says either x equals 1, comma, or x equals 2 and y equals 3. So let's again think about our hints. We have a comma here, it's a different location. We also have the sentence starting out with the word either. So the comma breaks up the sentence, essentially, right? So you have x equals 1 all by itself, and that's by itself from x equals 2 and y equals 3. What's following the comma? Well, we have an or, and indeed the first word of our sentence is either. So it seems pretty clear that the dominant connective is an or. We have a disjunction. So let's symbolize it. P, or, parentheses, Q, and R. So we can just compare this example with this example. We see that the placement of the comma makes a difference. We see that the word that starts out the sentence makes a difference. With all that in mind, let's look at exercise 8 from page 25. Copy sentences 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and try in each sentence to put the parentheses in different places. It cannot be done in 1, 4, 5, 6, but it can in 7. This shows 7 is ambiguous. Let's look at 1. Either he is wrong, and I am right, or I shall be surprised. So let's place parentheses, for example, with he is wrong. And let's put parentheses with I am right, or I shall be surprised. Now, does this even make sense, doing that? I don't think so. And the reason is the giveaway, and that's the word either, which starts out the sentence, okay? This English sentence. So you would suspect that the or connective would be dominant. However, the or connective is placed in parentheses here. But the dominant operator, or dominant connective, should be outside of parentheses. So therefore, the parentheses here are just not correct. So let's try again. Let's try he is wrong, and I am right, in parentheses. I shall be surprised in parentheses. Now, does this make sense? Yes, I think so, because the or as the dominant connective is placed outside of parentheses. Okay. Let's look at number 4. He is wrong, and either I am right or I shall be surprised. So how should we put the parentheses? Well, let's try this way first. He is wrong, and either I am right, in parentheses. I shall be surprised, in parentheses. Does this make sense? No, I don't think so. Why is that? Well, again, I think it's the word either. This time, either is not at the beginning of the sentence, it's within the sentence. Nevertheless, you would suspect that either as a word indicates a disjunction, and disjunction should be grouped together. But here is broken up, it's split apart, so to speak. So that doesn't make sense. Moreover, if the or should be in parentheses, you would think that the and is the dominant operator or dominant connective. So this is all wrong. It doesn't make sense. So let's just try this again. So let's try, he is wrong, in parentheses, either I am right or I shall be surprised, in parentheses. Now, does this make sense? Yes, I think so. There's no other way to do it. Because it seems to me that the either suggests a disjunction that's grouped together. And here we have a group together. The sentence also seems to thereby suggest that the and actually is dominant. Okay. Number 5 already provided us parentheses. So either both he is wrong and I am right, or I shall be surprised. As it stands, that makes perfect sense. But could we place the parentheses any other way? Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. In fact, number 5 formally is the same as number 1. So if we think about it, first off, the either starts off the sentence, and then immediately following the either we have a both. So right there with the both, you would suspect that there's a grouping of a conjunction, right? But the either right over here seems to indicate, or at least suggest, that the or will be dominant. Indeed, as it is dominant, okay, it should be outside of parentheses. And again, this and is, is not dominant. It's so to speak, it's a part of a sub-sentence of the overall molecular sentence, right? With that word both, embedded within the sentence, suggesting that. Okay, the both is not the first word of the entire sentence; it's within the sentence. So that's why you would suspect that it's not going to be dominant. Okay. So there's really no really other way to interpret that sentence overall, right? If we move the parentheses, you're really just ignoring the hints. Okay, the hints are either and both. Right? The location of those words are the hints to what's dominant and what's not dominant. So number 6 says both he is wrong and either I am right or I shall be surprised. Okay. So it's really the same as number 4. Okay. So the word both starts out the sentence, so you suspect that the and will be dominant. Moreover, the location of either within the sentence suggests that it's probably not going to be dominant, right? In fact, it's not dominant. So if we move the parentheses to other locations, if we have different subgroupings, we're really going to disregard what's dominant, and that's the and. So that's all we can do. How about number 7? he is wrong and I am right, or I shall be surprised. Well, here we definitely have a problem. It does seem ambiguous even from the outset. We don't have any hints to what's dominant. We don't have an either, we don't have a both in that sentence. So on the one hand, we can say, how about, he is wrong, in parentheses, I am right, or I shall be surprised, in parentheses. Does that make sense as a possibility? Is there anything that says that's just wrong? And nothing says it's wrong. There's no helpful words to give us a guide to say is that correct or incorrect, right? But I also can try, how about he is wrong and I am right, in parentheses, like this all here and this right here. That would make sense too. So I don't know if the and or the or is dominant. So therefore it's ambiguous. Let's look at exercise 10, part B, from pages 28 and 29. We're to symbolize the following sentences indicating the grouping by parentheses where necessary, where J represents Jerry is in room 1, C represents he is in chemistry class, and K represents Kenny is in room 3. Let's look at number 1. If Jerry is in room 1, then Kenny is in room 3, and he is in chemistry class. Overall, we have a conditional. The if then is a dominant connective. The and is a minor connective. It is within the conditional's consequent. Jerry is in room 1 is a J. Kenny is in room 3 is a K. He is in chemistry class is a C. Let's put in our connectives now. So we have if J, then K. So an arrow. K and C. So a wedge. And at least in this lesson, we'll put the consequent in parentheses. So if J, then parentheses K and C, close parentheses. Number 2, if either Kenny is in room 3 or he is in chemistry class, then Jerry is in room 1. Overall, we have a conditional. And within that conditional's antecedent, we have a disjunction. Kenny is in room 3 is a K. He is in chemistry class is a C. Jerry is in room 1 is a J. Now let's put in our connectives. We have K or C. Parentheses. And now we have our arrow. If K or C, then J. Number 3, either, well, that word indicates that overall we have a disjunction. So either if Jerry is in room 1, then he is in chemistry class, or Jerry is not in room 1. Jerry is in room 1 is a J. He is in chemistry class is a C. Jerry is in room 1 is a J. But it's negated with a not. So let's put that connective in right now, not J. So we have if J, then C. Let's put that in parentheses. And this is in disjunction relationship, so we'll have to have our descending wedge. So parentheses, if J, then C, close parentheses, or not J. Number 4, either. So overall is a disjunction. So either Kenny is in room 3, or if Jerry is in room 1, then he is in chemistry class. Kenny is in room 3 is a K. Jerry is in room 1 is a J. He is in chemistry class is a C. Let's put in our connectives. So we have K or J. If J, then C. But we need our parentheses there. The disjunction is dominant. So K or parentheses, if J, then C. Number 5, both. Well, overall, we have a conjunction. So both, if Kenny is in room 3, then he's in chemistry class, and Jerry is not in room 1. Kenny is in room 3, is a K. He is in chemistry class is a C. Jerry is in room 1 is a J, but it's negated. Let's do that now. Add that connective, not. So not J. So we have if K, then C, parentheses. And then we have an and, or a wedge. So parentheses, if K, then C, close parentheses, and not J. Finally, let's look at a portion of part F of exercise 11. For each of the following mathematical sentences, you are given the type of molecular sentence is intended to be, add the necessary parentheses. The whole idea is that the dominant sentential connective is always outside of parentheses. Hence, for sentence 1, we want a conditional. So that means we better put parentheses here and here. It's really that straightforward. Likewise, if we look at, say, sentence 5, we want a conjunction. So we better put parentheses here and here. The minor sentential connectives are within parentheses. The dominant sentential connective is always outside of parentheses. Likewise, if you look at sentence 7, we want a conditional, so we better put parentheses here. And so on and so forth. I hope these videos are somewhat helpful. Up next is the last major section for Chapter 1. That's section 1.7, elimination of some parentheses.